Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very senior and accomplished professional from Fayetteville, Arkansas, USA, Mr. Garrett Perkins. Garrett, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you. Garrett is the Chief Revenue Officer of Givington's. He has over 10 years of experience in the publishing and e-commerce industries. So, Garrett, before we get into what Givington's does and your role, tell me a little bit about your early career and what led you into business development and strategic communications.
Yeah, great question. Well, one, honor to be here. It's really fun to chat with you today. Before we started the podcast, fun to make the connection that your son was living right down the road from me for a
Yes, he
couple of years.
was.
So,
Yes.
so you speak with people all over the world, but we just made it really, really small,
Imagine.
really
I know.
quickly.
Small world.
So, I've actually was in the nonprofit sector before I did this. So what led me to this world was really just relationships, which is probably a key benchmark and part of my life and development as a professional, as a father, as a husband, and in general. So I went to school at Baylor University in Texas. I was born and raised in California and moved out to Texas to go to college or university at Baylor University, and thought I was going to be working in the nonprofit world for most of my life.
Mhm.
I like working for places that have a purpose, that have a purpose and a connection to something outside of just dollars and moving the needle financially. So I am that stereotypical millennial that needs something more than just a job job.
Absolutely.
I wanted to find something that would connect my passions with also my giftings and my wiring. So I
Mm,
was in the nonprofit world for 6 years doing fundraising,
mm,
doing leadership development, and using some of my entrepreneurial giftings in the nonprofit world, and through just relationships. And a dear friend, one of
mm,
the co-founders and CEO of Givington's, is one of my dear friends that I've known longer than I've known my wife. So he
mhm.
called about 6 years ago and said, "Hey, do you want to come join me and help build this thing?" And it's hard to say no to someone you love and care about. So it was easy. It was an easy yes if it meant that I got to build it with Alan Beffert
Mm,
and come work at a place that with people that I know and care about. And
yeah.
I didn't really know much about the publishing industry or the e-commerce industry.
Mm,
I knew that I was hardwired and good at leading people and building relationships that last, and then also leveraging some of my strategic communication skill sets as
amazing.
well. So just really all that colliding together.
Yeah. And as they say, the rest is history.
Yeah, there you go.
Wonderful. You also launched and managed impactful experiences for thousands of families. How did these experiences shape your leadership and business approach?
Yeah, that's a great question. What you're referencing to is my wife and I got the opportunity and were hired and entrusted to build out a traveling day camp experience for youth students ages 6 to 12 years old. So started from nothing and slowly but surely built it out to 60 different day camp experiences all over the Midwest, serving over 10,000 students. And that sounds big, and really it was through a lot of trial and error. We were entrusted by our leaders at the nonprofit that we worked for to just try. And I think that's probably one of the benchmarks that I've learned in that nonprofit and brought it over to Givington's as well. I am very, very comfortable trying, and I'm
Mm,
very, very comfortable failing. Both my
amazing.
parents would probably say growing up that Garrett
Mm.
had no problem messing up. He had no problem failing, and I figured
Oh,
if I
my.
can if I can do something quickly, I can learn faster than everybody else. And be able to maybe try 3 or 4 things before somebody else figures out the perfect thing. I've tried all the wrong things to know what works well for me. So I think speed is probably one of the biggest things that I learned in that world, and also being comfortable with new situations and being comfortable with the uncomfortable would maybe
Mm,
be the best way to say it.
mm, Great response. Thank you. So let's talk about Givington's and your role as the Chief Revenue Officer. For those unfamiliar with Givington's across the whole world, can you explain what the company does and how it stands out in publishing and e-commerce?
Yeah, absolutely. I think those two words are actually exactly how we stand out in publishing and e-commerce. We believe that the content world or publishing world is at is at a very interesting crossroads. And you, as an author, you've probably experienced this after all the books that you've published in the traditional publishing world. The publishing world, we believe, is where the music industry was about 12 to 15 years ago,
Yeah.
where we have authors like yourself, Ashutosh, who has an audience, who has a platform that you've connected with your audience over and over and over again. That's actually the value that you bring to these publishers. And publishers were like record labels were 10 to 15 years ago, where you had music artists like Jay-Z and Beyonce and Taylor Swift and Ben Rector in a more smaller space, and other individuals that said, you know what, I don't know if I necessarily need a record label. I want my music in the world, but I want to own my content. I want to own the intellectual property. And so therefore, I don't necessarily need a record label. I really just need a recording studio. I need a drummer. I need a background singer. I need a sound technician. I need a space to be able to record my music so that I can take it on the road. We, Givingtons, have strategically placed ourselves in the market of publishing and direct-to-consumer e-commerce to say, let us be the recording studio of the words world. So we help content creators create content, develop content, build content, and then monetize their content.
Wow.
And through those two areas, that if you have a direct consumer relationship with your audience, we think you have an opportunity to monetize and maximize your content in a way that you don't have to give it away, but you can own it and drive both revenue and impact towards your audience. So that's really what we do at a high level. And really, we say that we do it through three primary services: creative services, where we have a full service creative agency; product development, where we can actually develop products for these content creators; and then last, e-commerce fulfillment, where this is our podcast room, but on the other side of this wall is one of our 15,000 square foot warehouses that ships over millions of packages a year, and almost all of those packages are books, journals, devotionals, meditation guides.
Wow.
All connecting with content creators. Amazing. So that's kind of what we do.
Yeah, fascinating. And what are some of the unique challenges from your perspective that content brands face today? And how do you help them navigate these challenges?
Yeah, man. Well, there's a lot of challenges, but also gives some really great opportunity for people on the other side of it. I think one of the main challenges is understanding where social media fits with content creators. I think there's it feels like it's such a crowded space, but I think many people think that if I have a social media presence, I therefore have a direct relationship with my audience. But I think one of the challenges that content creators face is playing the long game of building a personal and direct relationship with your audience or your customer.
Yeah.
I think so many content creators think, well, because I have hundreds of thousands of followers on social media, that means that my audience is a community. We would say that you're not necessarily a content brand that can drive traffic unless you have one of or all three of these three things. Content, a lot of people have content. That's not necessarily hard.
Yeah.
Community, now that's hard. And community is not just eyeballs, right? What I mean by that is a lot of people can go on Instagram and make posts and drive traffic there, but they have no idea who those people are. They have blank eyeballs, and really Instagram owns that customer, not that person. Absolutely. So content, community, and last, commerce. If you can actually not just drive traffic and eyeballs, but you can say something to your community and they will buy from you. If you have those three things, then you are a center of the bullseye type of person that we can work with. Wow. And I would say one of the main challenges is learning how to get people from an audience or a platform to building a community.
This is an incredible 101 for our viewers and listeners. The three C's needed to be able to build, which is content, community, and commerce. Thank you. That's a great response to my question. Garrett, my next question is that the mission of Givington's focuses on inspiring and empowering generosity. How does this philosophy shape your approach to business and partnerships?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's what's interesting is, like all businesses, they start in one place and they evolve and grow and change. Yeah. What Givington started as is not where we are today, which is both a badge of honor, and I think also shows that we've been through the miry clay as well. Most startups don't last. Over 95% of startups don't last past the first 3 years, and we've been around for 10 years. We've been through the hockey stick growth. We've been through the whitewater. We've been through the downsides, and now we've learned this vision of our business of wanting to have sustainable growth and never at the risk of profitability. And Givington started really as a support entity for nonprofits. That's where my experience in the nonprofit world came in, where we wanted to build a platform to help nonprofits generate what we called non-donor generated revenue. One of the main problems for nonprofits is they have to raise funds over and over and over again, and they live and die by making those phone calls to those big donors. And we wanted to help nonprofits find sustainable ways to generate revenue to support their mission by inspiring generosity, by really just equipping and teaching nonprofits how to build businesses with their ideas. A lot of nonprofits have a unique idea that they're either teaching, equipping, or training people in. And we wanted to help leverage those ideas and generate revenue for those ideas for those nonprofits. So that was the original idea. What we learned really quickly is the nonprofit world either didn't have the budget, or they had a founder that could simply just make a phone call and generate that donations on their own. But what they actually needed support in is developing that content, developing that vision for how to use their thought leadership or their intellectual property to grow their nonprofit. And then spun into not just nonprofits, but business professionals and CEOs and authors and e-commerce brands. And we just ended up just saying yes to more and more things. We started with fulfillment. We started in the e-commerce fulfillment world, where we had one large content brand that said, hey, I don't need your help developing my content, but I need someone to ship my product. Can you ship my product? And of course, like a struggling nonprofit 8 years ago, we said, yeah, we can do that. We had no idea how to do it, but we learned. And through our gritty approach of wanting to last, we figured out e-commerce fulfillment. And now we're a mainstay e-commerce fulfillment company in the content world. So it's a fun story for us of seeing how, while the business model has changed or developed, our hope and desire to inspire generosity has not gone away and is still at the center of what we want to do.
Well said. And as the Chief Revenue Officer, what are some of the key revenue streams you oversee at Givington's?
Yeah, so Givington's has a couple buckets. We call them business units or income streams. And most of those came from the ground up, where we saw a need with our clients. And a couple of them came through acquisition, of actually acquiring other businesses that just fit in our ecosystem of business units. We started in the e-commerce fulfillment space as our primary business unit that is probably around 60 to 70% of our revenue. And that serves, really direct consumer e-commerce fulfillment. And then over the course of time, and we looked up, and our head of operations looked at us and said, hey, do we want to only do e-commerce fulfillment? Because if so, that's expensive. We got to have warehouses all over the world. We're going to have to start raising some money. And we looked up and said, you know what? I don't know if we want to just ship packages for the rest of our lives. So instead of going wide with e-commerce fulfillment, we went deep with our current clients and looked at what do they need. And all of our clients had products arriving at our warehouse every day for their inventory. And we kind of heard that same story, that developing those products was hard, antiquated. It was confusing on when do we source overseas? When do we source in the States? There was quality control issues. There was supply chain issues. So what we did is we went to school. We said, hey, what if we figured out how to manage your product development as well, where we would develop the products? We would meet with the clients or the e-commerce companies and say, what product catalog do you want to have in the fall? And then we would go and start finding ways to source that product for them, and really just started providing a holistic service for them. So it started with building a product development company. And we served 1 client, 3 clients, 7 clients, 12 clients. And now it's its own business unit, where we do have some clients that only use us for product development. But the flywheel for us is when they use us for e-commerce fulfillment and then product development. But then it didn't stop there. All these e-commerce companies and authors and content creators also needed websites and wanted to build e-courses and wanted to create animated videos and author book trailers. And they were using all these creative agencies and marketing agencies. And those marketing agencies were talking to us. And we said, well, our clients trust us. They like us. They're using us for a lot. They'd probably rather just talk to one person. What if we learned how to do that as well? Now, marketing and creative is not something that you can just figure out on your own quickly. So that's actually when we went and acquired a full service creative agency called Polymath. We did that 5 years ago, and it's been a wonderful integration into our world as well. So that's really where we've built and scaled. We've scaled through learning and serving what Seth Godin calls the smallest viable audience. And that's really how we've strategically grown grown over time. And again, really with that same foundation of we want to have sustainable success and sustainable growth, never at the risk of profitability again. There was a season for us that we were hockey stick growth revenue and really, really ugly red numbers at the bottom on the EBITDA, meaning negative. And we never want to go back there. What we've learned is revenue feels like a vanity metric a lot of the time. And really, we have some other true star metrics on the financial side that mean more.
Amazing. But now with the rise of technology, with generative AI and so much automation, how do you see publishing and e-commerce evolving in the next few years?
Yeah, we see publishing and e-commerce on a crash course with each other. And when we say e-commerce, what we mean is direct to consumer e-commerce, not third-party e-commerce. We mean you selling direct to your customer, not on a third-party platform. So we see them really colliding together. You're seeing more authors driving traffic and moving books creatively in a direct consumer way because the retail landscape's changed. People don't go to Barnes and Noble and walk the halls of Barnes and Noble to buy books anymore. That's what I did growing up. We'd go every Sunday after church and we walk Barnes and Noble and we find our new book. Now people go to Amazon and Amazon decides what they're going to show you. So there are hundreds upon hundreds of books that aren't getting discovered. So we have a discovery problem. So really, I think with generative AI, there is a wonderful opportunity, but there's also some real threats in the market with generative AI, especially in publishing. I think there's a lot of beautiful writing that goes on in the publishing world. And I think at first glance, because of ChatGPT and the ease of being able to create content quickly, I think short form content is directly being affected most immediately with generative AI. So you're seeing LinkedIn posts not being written by people anymore, blog posts, email campaigns, a lot of that being run by AI agents. But what I do believe is just like I think a lot of people think that books are going to be written by AI in the future. I think, yes, that will happen. Absolutely. But just like I think people thought that TurboTax was going to replace CPAs, and that is not the case. I grew up with a father that was a CPA and his career is still doing just great. I think at some level, people are going to recognize and want something outside of just generative AI. Not only that, I think people think that writing a book is one, easy, and two, I think they think it's quick. And what they don't know is there's this beautiful world of writers that help authors write books. They're called ghostwriters. And that is not something that AI can do because people think that you can just pop in some questions and it'll spit out a book. And the reality is that some of the most prolific authors will tell you their ghostwriter is like their therapist, that they work with them and they pull out the beauty of their book. A lot of times authors don't even know they have a book in them. And ghostwriters and content agencies and writing agencies help pull that out. So I don't see that changing much in the industry. And also, I think the book industry is here to stay because, the ebooks came out a while back and books sold more. So I just think people at the end of the day, especially in the nonfiction, professional development, spiritual space, theological space, self-help space, people don't want to interact on a screen with it. They want to write in the book. They want to underline the page. And also there's an ego side to books. And I mean for the reader, not just for the author to say, I wrote a book, but for a reader, I want to be able to have a bookshelf that has books on my bookshelf. So when someone comes to my house, they go, wow, you're a reader? Whether I read the book or not, that I don't think that will ever go away. But I do believe that speed to market is going to happen, and it's only going to get more crowded with people thinking they can create content. But I don't believe that content will last.
Absolutely. Very well said. Thank you. Next few questions are for you, Garrett. How do you ensure that customer engagement remains at the core of revenue growth?
Yeah, well, we believe at Givington's that we would rather serve deeply than wide. So I think when it comes to customer engagement, we have, and this ties into some of our automation and AI conversations, we have strategically chosen to stay pretty human forward and human centered, both with our labor and our staffing, as well as the way we engage with our clients. We're seeing a lot of outsourcing to a lot of different technology, especially in the fulfillment space, where robots are involved and other things where we have automated packaging machines that help make us more efficient to be able to scale. We do have automations and technology to do that. But at the end of the day, we are looking for ways to more efficiently grow our human capital instead of replacing our human capital. And that gets back down to the core of what we're trying to build as a company and as a business. And we have some kind of true north statements to help with that. But on the customer side and on the client side, it's the same way. We have little desire to be able to serve thousands upon thousands of clients. We want to serve 150 to 200 clients, and we want to do everything for them. We want them to not have to continue to carry that overhead cost on their end, and we'll keep hiring the staff on our end to do that. So a lot of that has to do with the way our account managers serve proactively and communicate proactively. A lot of that has to do with some of the small things our clients would tell you. They get a lot of gifts from us. We love the ability to be able to care deeply for our clients. And we also believe it makes us really, really sticky, where when we make mistakes, which we will, we're humans, we are very comfortable when we make mistakes here at Givington's, but we believe that when we make mistakes, it gives us the opportunity to earn the right to build an even deeper relationship. When we say, hey, we made a mistake, we're sorry, and we're going to make it right. Usually that endears clients to us and go, man, that makes me trust them more. So we are pretty streamlined, focused on a client-centered approach. And everybody says that. And I think we have some ways we do that specifically through our core values. And one of them is candor. We're not going to shy away from a hard conversation with our clients, but also an honest conversation with our clients. We're not going to bury our mistakes. We're going to let them know, and we're going to make it right. So that's probably one way that I can think of immediately.
Well said. And for my viewers and listeners, you've had such an amazing journey from the nonprofit to Givington's. What habits or mindset shifts have helped you succeed as a revenue strategist?
Yeah, habits wise, I think I've always naturally been someone that enjoys a fast-paced work environment, which I think bodes well for someone in business development. I think I talked a little bit about speed in general, and I just value being first more than being best. I think that would probably be principle number one, especially in business development, even client communication. I think we are comfortable here at Givington's not feeling the most buttoned up or most professional, but we're going to be relational forward, and we're going to be fast. So I think habits for me that I've learned that go a long way is always choosing the relationship over the sale. I think specifically in business development and sales, I spend a lot of time and honestly, a lot of money flying to visit or talk with or spend time with entities, businesses, organizations that actually aren't even clients of ours, but what they are, we call them aggregators at Givington's. And an aggregator is someone that they might not be a client of ours, but they interact with or serve our clients. And what we've learned is if we actually spend more time with those people, I don't need to continue to hire a sales force. That's my sales force right there, because I've cared for, I've talked to, I've connected with these aggregators like Ashutosh meets with brands all day long. You do this for a living. And now that you know about us, if I do a good job of communicating with you, building a relationship with you, following up with you, all of a sudden, when you meet someone and goes, I have this need is why, the first person that's going to come to mind is, you know what, I need to tell you about Givington's, or I need to connect you with Garrett. So I think that's probably been one of the most important and valuable principles for me of how do I scale our business? And it can't just be from more of my time. If I am the primary revenue generator of our business, how do I scale our business without me having to be in every single room? And I would say that's probably one of the primary principles we've done.
Very well said. And my last question for you, Garrett, can you share the story of any brand, and you don't need to give me the name, that has successfully scaled its impact through Givington's?
Yeah, honestly, I would love to share their name, because what we love to do is tell everybody our success is our client success. And everybody says it. What we mean by that is our success stories are really just telling what they have done and sharing that with other people, because we're, at the end of the day, what we do is a commodity. We're not special. Anybody can ship a package. Anybody can build a website. Anybody can source product from overseas or in the States. But what we do is we give our clients the ability to not focus on that stuff so they can focus on what they're best at: marketing, creating products, developing content, all the above. I think one of the people that does it best in the content space is actually a married couple called the Roloffs, and they own an e-commerce brand called Beating 50%, beating50%.com. And they've been a client with us for, I think, 9 years now.
Wow.
And we actually serve them holistically. We are their creative and product development partner. We've been doing fulfillment for them for years. We help them with their traditionally publishing deals. And we don't see many people developing a direct relationship with their audience better than Jeremy and Audrey Roloff. And they have been doing it before it was even a thing. We've built a lot of our ideas and a lot of our business units and a lot of our stuff around watching the success of the Roloffs over the last 8 to 10 years, where they leverage their social media platform, they leverage their email lists to drive a community to a central platform, their e-commerce platform. And when they sell a traditionally published book, all that is a mouthpiece to drive people back to their direct consumer ecosystem. So we believe Jeremy and Audrey Roloff do it really, really well. They just released a new product a couple of weeks ago that we actually were a part of, from soup to nuts. And it's the second round of them releasing it. We actually came up with the idea of the product for them, and they sold out in 48 hours. Amazing. And so now they're on their second round of doing it, and they're really successful. And what we love about them is over the last 8 to 10 years, they've become really, really dear friends as well, which is really fun.
Amazing. And on that note, and this amazing story that you've just said, the very few, I've come across many people, but very few stories like this last one that you told me, where the relationship has been so strong over such a long period of time. Thank you, Garrett, for speaking to me about your own journey. Thank you for talking to me about Givingtons. I'm going to repeat what I said a few minutes back, which was content, community, and commerce are so critical in any kind of business relationship. Thank you also for speaking to me about how you focus on empowering generosity, about how technology is coming in, but most authors should feel safe because the market is only growing. Thank you also for speaking to me about customer engagement. Thank you again, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website, www.tbcy.in, to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.